Old Fort.
Okay.
But why we say Old Fort? Because once Germany came, they used as a military base these buildings. But the first people to construct these buildings was Arabic people. They construct only ground floor and the first floor around 1860, and they used it as a residential house. But almost 10 years from 1860 up to 1870, but later, I mean 1871, another Arabic people from Zanzibar, they came to this town. It's like a central route in order to collect a lot of commodities from interior. So we have someone known as Abu Shiri bin Salim, Tip Tip, and the third Sultan of Zanzibar. So once they came, they changed the uses. From residential house, they used as a temporary slave camp, these buildings. They started to collect a lot of material from Kigoma, Ujiji, Tabora, Dodoma, Morogoro, up to Bagamoyo, because it was the central route. They carried a lot of material like slave, ivory, animal skin, tortoise shells from interior to Bagamoyo. But you have to know that around that time, Bagamoyo, there is a very big city. There is an international port. It's like today, Dar es Salaam. Around that time, there is no Dar es Salaam, Mwanza, Mbeya, Arusha, Dodoma. So Bagamoyo was the capital city. But once slaves and the porters arrived in this town, for the first time, they meet with these new buildings. Today we say this is the oldest one. But around that time was the new one. But once they meet with these buildings, they think that maybe this is the end of our journey. That's why they decided to pronounce their words. That's BagaMoyo. BagaMoyo came from the native language, your local people. They decided to say BagaMoyo. Why BagaMoyo? Because there is no way to be back. So slave and the porters, they decided to pronounce the word BagaMoyo. But the BagaMoyo, it was pronounced by two people, slave and the porters. In Swahili, you can't understand who says this. But in English, once you say BagaMoyo, slave, they say, lay down, be quiet, my heart. And the porters, they say, lay down the burden of your heart. If you connect these two words, you say, be quiet, my heart, and lay down the burden of your heart. Once you say Bwaga means rest, moyo, heart. Be able for anything, whether to die or to survive, because no way out to be back. But slave master, they failed to pronounce the word BagaMoyo, because BagaMoyo was the local language from local people. They decided to say BagaMoyo. So today we say this is BagaMoyo, but BagaMoyo is not the original name of this town. Original name is Bwaga. So even you today, you have to lay down your burden, your heart, because no way out to be back. You are in BagaMoyo. But we have a building known as Caravan Serai. Caravan was a permanent slave camp. The word caravan in English is like you say caravan route or slave. But Serai, this is the Arabic words. Once you say Serai, it's like you say Lord your guest. It's like accommodation. But from caravan Serai to the slave market. From slave market special area for selling and buying all commodities. And then from there to the slave port. From slave port up to Zanzibar, the main slave market. And then from Zanzibar to Mauritius, Arabian country, Mauritius, and other countries. Now, Bagomoyo started to rise day to day because different people, they came in order to find a lot of commodities from interior. Now, we see Indian people, Chinese people, they came in this town because there is the international port in order to collect a lot of commodities. But later, British, they started to thinking to abolish slave trade, and this because of industrial revolution. They didn't need again to use the manpower instead of machines. That's why they decided to think to abolish slave trade. But there is a lot of treatment to Sultan of Zanzibar. We have Molez Bay Treaty, Hamilton Treaty, Ferry Treaty, which was occurred around 1822, 1845, 1873, but no one willing to abolish slavery until the end of Berlin Conference,
Berlin Conference,
1884 up to 1885. And the main aims of that meeting, it was to divide the African continent and to abolish slavery. Now, the end of Berlin Conference, 1886, Germany get a chance to dominate Tanganyika. So once Germany came Tanganyika, they decided to use this Bagamoyo town like a starting point in order to dominate us. So they decided to add these buildings and the second floor. Now they used it as a military base. So all this room was special for the German soldiers in order to defend their fort. But once Germany came, they decided to introduce the rule and the regulations. And those rules was totally confused the African people, Indian people, Arabic people. That's why there is a lot of small resistance. The first resistance, we call it Yabushiri War, 1888 up to 1889. A lot of German soldiers were dying. Today we have evidence behind of these buildings, or near to the beach, we have a German cemetery. They decided to hang another African people who were opposing the rule and the regulation of Germany. We have a hanging place near to the beach over there. All Africans who were opposing the rule and the regulation, they decided to hang them. But we have another resistance, we call it Mkwawa War, Mkwawa resistance in Iringa region. Another war, we call it Maji Maji. I don't know if you know the meaning of Maji. Water. Maji means water. Why people say this is water war or Maji Maji war? Because no one able to fight against Germany. But the leader of African people, they decided to tell their soldiers that, don't worry, we are going to use this water, it's like magic things, to fight or to win in this war. So once you fight with the German, you have to carry out your water, and then you have to say Maji Maji. Once you say Maji Maji, it will be very easy to change the German bullet into water, so no one is going to die through water. That's why the war known as Maji Maji war. But no one win. A lot of Africans were dying. So German, they decided to expand their territory. They decided to build the Boma, the first state house in Tanganyika, school, the court, hospital, and other things in Bagamoyo. Now we see Bagamoyo started to rise day to day. But until to the end of First World War, 1914-1918, British win in that war, and they took over Tanganyika. Once British took over Tanganyika around 1919, they decided to use these buildings as a prison. So from 1919 up to 1960, 61 even as we got our independence, with the first president, we call it Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere. Even as we used as a first prison from 1961 up to 1974. But 1995 we used as a police station. One buildings but different uses. But from 1995 as a police station up to 1990. Our town today, people say it's Bagamoyo Stone Town. It's like Zanzibar Stone Town. And this because of the material. They use the coral stone and the mangrove. But today, instead of this old material, you find cement, electricity, tiles, and the new material. Because they decided to make some renovation around 1991 in order to change the uses. So after renovation, they used it as a conservation college in order to educate someone to conserve the oldest buildings until today, you see. So you find in the door we have that number was special as a dormitories during conservation college. But we used it almost 2 years, from 1992 up to 1994. 95, we decided to stop the uses of conservation college, and we used it as a tourism office under antiquities department. So from 1995 until today, we still use it as a tourism office under antiquities department. This is a very short summary, but I will try to explain one by one. Start from here and to another attraction. So now let's start walking around in these buildings see how